This is Part 2 Episode 109. Elder Song tilted her head and said, "We can't start the battle without knowing what's going on. We have to ask them clearly before anything else. I'm afraid the beast god, Di Qian, is personally directing an army of this scale." Elder Xian squinted as he gazed into the clouds above. He's right there, right next to him is the golden-eyed Black Dragon King. Who else could muster a force such as this? Let me go and meet him, and I'll ask about what exactly has happened. Elder Song was a little worried as she said, "You must be careful, Elder Xian. With Di Qian's cultivation, even Elder Mu back then was weaker than the beast god. He is the world's #1 soul beast, and the leader of the 10 great savage beasts isn't someone who's easy to interact with." Elder Xian smiled plainly and answered, "So what if he's not easy to interact with? Shrek's honor and glory are up to us to uphold and defend. I will protect Shrek City as long as I have one breath remaining, and I will not let these brutes invade us. I am going up, you'll take over command." Elder Xian took a step out as he spoke, and he just stood on the battlement like that as he stretched his arms to both sides and hurled into the sky. A dense and thick sound wave, like a torrential wave, burst forth with a powerful aura from Elder Xian's body. This ferocious roar forcefully intimidated, and caused the army of soul beasts in the distance to pause. Elder Xian's body transformed into a ray of golden light, and surged into the sky, like a shooting star, as he blazed a trail of crystal yellow flames. Furthermore, this sphere of yellow light became larger in volume as it rose through the sky, and it quickly covered the sky above Shrek Academy with yellow hues. Yellow light stretched across the sky, which sparkled continuously as it went straight for those black masses of dark clouds without showing any weakness at all. Elder Xian's move reinvigorated Shrek City's morale and aura, and everyone widened their eyes as they looked on, especially the students from the outer courtyard. They would possibly only get this one chance in their lifetimes to witness this showdown between some of the strongest individuals in the world, and the excitement in their hearts far exceeded their anxiety. A colossal shadow, over 100 meters long, flickered amidst that golden light. Dragon patterns webbed over its enormous frame, and its twin horns pointed towards the sky. It was Elder Xian's mighty martial soul, the godly Dao Tai Bu. Elder Xian hadn't made that step into godhood yet, but he was the Dao Tai Doluo, a powerful rank 98 soul master. He could still put up a fight against the Dragon Emperor Doluo, and the Darkness Holy Dragon, Long Xiaoyao. The yellow colors high up in the sky quickly intertwined with the ink-like black luster. The black colors paused momentarily before they collided violently with the yellow clouds, and the sky dimmed and brightened alternately as they clashed against each other, powerful auras colliding incessantly. What was even stranger was that no matter how they clashed, their auras didn't affect the army of soul beasts, or Shrek City beneath them. "Come out and talk, Di Qian." Elder Xian's deep and dense voice echoed through the heavens. Even though he was the only one talking, everyone from Shrek City and the army of soul beasts could hear him clearly. "You're the Dao Tai." Another icy-cold voice resonated across the skies in similar fashion. However, when this voice appeared, the final sounds of Elder Xian's voice were instantly shattered, as if someone had forcefully cut him off. Black clouds riled up vigorously, and an enormous dragon whose size couldn't be distinguished shimmered amidst the dark clouds. Its entire body was covered with pitch-black scales, but it shone with dark purple colors within those dark clouds. "Yes, it's me. Di Qian, you have gathered so many soul beasts from the Great Star Do Forest to Shrek Academy without any consideration of the consequences. Why have you done this?" Elder Xian asked loudly with a deep voice. Di Qian's icy-cold voice could be heard once more. "Why? You despicable humans are actually asking me why. Over these years, when have humans ever stopped harming and killing us soul beasts? Soul beasts have been living in seclusion within habitats like the Great Star Do Forest, but humans have never stopped disturbing us. Humans have been killing my kin and my brethren, and humans have mutilated their corpses so as to boost their own strength. Soul beasts have been dwindling in number from the beginning to the end, but there are more and more soul masters. If this is allowed to continue, in the long run, soul beasts will be extinct one day." Elder Xian thought for a moment and said, "We are equally aware of this problem. Di Qian, you have to understand that humans don't wish for that to happen either. However, the existence of martial souls has formed this food chain, and soul masters have to hunt and kill soul beasts to obtain soul rings if they want to become stronger. We are thinking of anything we can do to substitute soul rings, and we are in the midst of such research right now. For now, however, it seems like there are still sufficient numbers of soul beasts. Furthermore, are you saying that soul beasts haven't killed humans before? The number of humans who have ventured into your habitats and gained something are far fewer than the number of soul masters that soul beasts have murdered. This matter has always been mutual. Furthermore, have you forgotten about the peace treaty we signed back then? You are the beast god. Will you go against your word? Di Qian laughed coldly and said, "Don't try to lie to me. The dragon god Doluor didn't find a way to substitute soul rings back then, and I don't believe you guys can do that, either. As for the treaty, you have the audacity to talk to me about that. If your memory still serves, you should remember that there was an extremely important existence within the Great Star Doe Forest, the three-eyed golden lion." The three-eyed golden lion. Elder Xian almost felt his heart skip a beat when he heard this name, and an ominous feeling filled his heart. Many soul masters were unfamiliar with this name, the three-eyed golden lion, and even the elders within the Sea God's pavilion didn't know about her existence. However, Elder Xian knew her very well, and he had seen her before with his own eyes. He had even helped Hu Yuhao obtain part of the three-eyed golden lion's power of destiny. Of course, he understood how important the three-eyed golden lion was to the Great Star Doe Forest, and even the 5 great savage beasts, who anchored down the forest's slaughtering grounds were, in practice, not as important as the auspicious beast. The three-eyed golden lion's existence had allowed the Great Star Doe Forest to develop rapidly for the past 10,000 years. Human soul masters had hunted and killed soul beasts continuously, but the forest's overall number of soul beasts and their overall strength wasn't weakened. In fact, the soul beast's overall strength had increased. In some sense, the three-eyed golden lion was equivalent to an amplifier for the Great Star Doe Forest, and her existence was the reason why the forest had the strength and scale that they did today. Back then, the 3-headed scarlet devil mastiff, who was one of the slaughtering ground's 5 savage beasts, had personally stayed by her side to protect her. Something's happened to the three-eyed golden lion. Elder Xian asked with a tinge of incredulity. He didn't quite believe it. The three-eyed golden lion was exceptionally important to the Great Star Doe Forest, and savage beasts had always personally protected her. Her status within the forest was comparable to Di Qian's, and even though her strength was nowhere near that of the savage beasts, her status was equivalent to that of the father of a reigning emperor. Humph! Di Qian grunted coldly, and the dark clouds in the sky seemed to become a little gloomier than before. The humans and soul beasts beneath him all began to feel their hearts beat faster. Unless something's happened to the auspicious beast, why do you think I would go to such lengths and such trouble to start a war? Why do you think I would risk the lives of my kin and brethren to start a war like this? A few days ago, I felt the aura of the auspicious beast's death. The huge black dragon circling around inside the dark clouds paused as he reached his last words, and 2 golden spheres sparkled brilliantly. They were his eyes. The beast god Di Qian's original body was a golden-eyed black dragon king, who had more than 800,000 years of cultivation. The black dragon's blood was the purest next to the golden dragon and the silver dragon, and Di Qian was likely to be the only living being across the entire continent who was a pureblood black dragon. He had been alive for 800,000 long years, and he had seen almost every change that had happened to the continent. Once that powerful aura was released, Elder Xian felt his scalp tense, even with his cultivation rank. The auspicious beast is dead. Elder Xian drew a cold breath. If that was the case, the Great Star Doe Forest would have good reason to launch a beast wave like this. The auspicious beast was far too important, because she was connected to the future of the entire forest, and she was very beneficial to the savage beast's chances of breaking through bottlenecks. This time, they were in deep trouble. Elder Xian took a deep breath. The yellow light around the godly Daotai bull became stronger at the same time as he said, "I'm very sorry, Di Qian, that the auspicious beast is dead. However, The auspicious beast has always been residing in the Great Star Do Forest, and she's personally protected by several of your strongest individuals. How could anything have happened to her? Are you saying that someone managed to kill the auspicious beast from underneath your protection? The ferocity emanating from Di Qian's body receded a little. He muttered coldly, of course nobody would have been able to kill the auspicious beast inside the forest. The auspicious beast's status in the Great Star Do Forest transcended all else, and even I was unwilling to restrain her excessively. Not long ago, she used a fake body in closed-door cultivation, while her own body secretly slunk out of the forest. She should have entered the world of humans, and even individuals like us won't disturb her when she's in closed-door cultivation. Who would have expected that such grievous news would come several days ago? The auspicious beast, the three-eyed golden lion, had departed the Great Star Do Forest, and had passed away in the human world. Elder Xian lowered his voice and said, I express deep regret once more for the auspicious beast's death. However, since she met her demise after she left the forest, how can you be sure that us humans did her wrong? I can understand your sorrowful emotions, but you cannot use the lives of countless humans and soul beasts to wash away your grief. The beast god, Di Qian, suddenly laughed ominously, as if he had just heard some joke. Nothing to do with humans. Do you know how the auspicious beast died? Let me tell you, my aura was intimately connected to that of the auspicious beast, and I could clearly feel the state that she was in when she died. She sacrificed herself for a human, and she willingly became someone's soul ring. How can you say, then, that this has nothing to do with humans? What? Elder Xian couldn't maintain his composure anymore after this. Many different possibilities of how the auspicious beast might have met her demise had appeared in his mind over that short period of time. He understood, naturally, that the auspicious beast was likely to have died at the hands of a human soul master. However, exceptions could occur, and he was still thinking about how he could convince Di Qian to withdraw his army, when he was met with such a reply. Elder Xian's voice was evidently a little more rushed now. He said angrily, Di Qian, even if you want to frame others for this, you have to find a reliable and believable reason. The Emperor Beast, the three-eyed golden lion, offered herself to a human soul master. Do you even believe your own words? You can try asking the other soul beasts in the forest, do they believe this? You are clearer than I am about what the Emperor Beast's existence entails. Could she even offer herself to a human? Di Qian said coldly, nothing is impossible. The Emperor Beast was born with intelligence comparable to you humans, and she must have walked into the world of humans, because she was curious. The Emperor Beast was born from the destiny of the heavens, and she has always acted according to destiny. There are far too many things that can taint and pollute her in the human world, and problems appeared in the Emperor Beast's way of thinking because of these pollutions. Don't try to absolve yourself of responsibility. The only humans that the Emperor Beast saw before she left the forest were you and your students. I heard from the Scarlet King that, back then, one of your students interacted with her. I am very sure that whatever's happened to the Emperor Beast has something to do with that student of yours. Hand him over, and my army will not invade Shrek City. Otherwise, we will wash Shrek with blood, and we will exterminate everything and everyone. Elder Xian's attitude changed a little as he listened to Di Qian's words. There was no question that Hu Yuhao was the person who Di Qian was talking about. Elder Xian was the perpetrator back then, so he knew, as he was the one who had helped Hu Yuhao obtain part of the three-eyed golden lion's power of destiny, and he was the one who had helped Hu Yuhao open his eye of destiny. Does this mean that the three-eyed golden lion offered herself to Yuhao? He thought about Hu Yuhao going missing recently in the Sun Moon Empire. He's likely to have encountered danger of some kind. Perhaps, what Di Qian has said isn't impossible. However, when did the three-eyed golden lion get together with Yuhao? Why has he never mentioned this to me before? Di Qian, I cannot agree to your request. That student you're looking for isn't even in the academy, and even if he were, how could I give one of my academy's students to you? Elder Xian's voice became plain and composed. He was very clear, as he watched the way Di Qian was behaving, that the Beast Wave's invasion was inevitable. Even if he gave Hu Yuhao to Di Qian, the Emperor Beast's death was enough to instigate these savage beasts' aggression and hostility. Even if they didn't attack Shrek, they would attack other cities, and Shrek would have to take on the responsibility of fighting them off. Di Qian's voice instantly grew cold. Does this mean that you're not willing to hand that rascal over at the cost of endless lives and bloodshed? Elder Xian muttered coldly, you wish to fight, then let's fight. How can you step over Shrek's glory as and when you want to? You're courting death. Di Qian roared furiously into the sky, and dark clouds surged as he shouted ferociously at the top of his voice, charge. The soul beasts that had initially stopped outside Shrek City now began to move like a tsunami when they heard Di Qian's order. All kinds of lights shone from these soul beasts, and every single one was filled with manic and crazy auras as they charged toward Shrek City. You dare, Di Qian! Elder Xian howled as the godly Daotai bull's colossal frame began trotting through the sky. He stepped on yellow clouds as he charged toward Di Qian with his twin spiral horns. Di Qian's tremendous dragon wings stretched out as dark clouds rose from behind his back. He opened his mouth, and a huge black pillar of fire more than 10 meters in diameter erupted toward Elder Xian. Elder Xian's horns glowed at the same time, and his dark brown horns swiftly became glossy and transparent, as if they were sculpted from diamonds. Two diamond-like beams of light merged into one and went straight for that black flame pillar. Boom! The mountains trembled and the earth shook in that moment. Even though they were fighting thousands of meters in the sky, the world quivered along with their collision. Di Qian didn't move an inch, and hovered in the distance, but Elder Xian's forward momentum was halted forcefully after this clash. Evidently, there was still quite a gap between Elder Xian's cultivation and that of Di Qian. Di Qian's large golden eyes flowed with disdain and indifference as he flapped his huge dragon wings toward Elder Xian. The sky turned black in that instant. The yellow clouds were initially at a standoff against dark clouds, but this situation changed in the blink of an eye. Dark clouds loomed over the skies, and everything that was yellow was immediately swallowed in that moment. Even Elder Xian's body suffered the same fate, and the great earth was covered in darkness, as countless purple lightning bolts flickered and sparkled amongst the dark clouds. That immense pressure sufficiently portrayed the spectacular sight of the dark clouds bearing down on a city and threatening to overwhelm it. The spectacular sight made Shrek City's city defense army and everyone from Shrek Academy feel stifled. The number one soul beast in the world, the leader of the 10 great savage beasts, the beast god, the dictator of the great Star-Doe forest, the Golden Eyes Black Dragon King, there were just too many titles on Di Qian's head. This time, the death of the Emperor Beast, the three-eyed golden lion, had finally infuriated this insanely powerful soul beast. He didn't hold back from the moment he made his first move. Waves of dull thunder boomed continuously from the sky. However, the sky was still covered in darkness. Even the outer courtyard's junior students could tell from this situation that Elder Xian was absolutely the weaker one, and at a complete disadvantage. That was the truth. Di Qian was the Doluo continent's strongest soul beast, and he was possibly the strongest individual across the entire Doluo continent. Even if the Darkness Holy Dragon, the Dragon Emperor Doluo, Long Xiaoyao was here, he would probably be no match for Di Qian. He was an ultimate Doluo, but his martial soul, the Darkness Holy Dragon, originated from the Black Dragon race. In terms of blood purity, how could he compare to Di Qian? Back then, when the radiant Holy Dragon, the dragon god Doluo Mu Yen, was fighting against Di Qian, he had relied on the fact that his element was a natural counter to Di Qian's element, and he was only a little weaker. If Long Xiaoyao had been in his position, he would probably be in a worse situation than Elder Mu was. He was absolutely no match for Di Qian in control over darkness. If Elder Xian couldn't hold Di Qian back, and if he eventually perished in his fight against Di Qian, who else in Shrek City could hold back the strongest individual in the world? Would Shrek City really be laid to ruin? What are you looking at? Prepare your defenses, everyone. First wave of soul tools, prepare to fire. All soul masters to their battle stations, and heed my commands. Time Doluo Shishing shouted angrily, and his valiant voice finally pulled everyone out from those stifling and suppressing sensations. Morale would always be imperative in war. The faith for victory would exist if morale was high, and without morale, even an endless army might not be able to defend against their enemies. Shrek's city defense army had never lacked morale, because the glory and honor from Shrek's previous generations shone on them, and this glory became their greatest courage. They were faced with a formidable army of at least 100,000 soul beasts, and the Dao Tai Doluo was clearly at a disadvantage against the beast god in the sky. But even so, the eyes of every soldier in Shrek's city defense army quickly became sharp and determined under Shishing's command. This was a battle that they couldn't lose, because loss meant death. This was a fight between humans and soul beasts, and surrender was never an option on such a battlefield. Nobody had to explain for everyone to understand that they had to fight to the very end in this battle. They could only beat back these soul beasts and protect Shrek City in order to survive. Soul masters hustled, and heavy cannons were swiftly pulled into position, their mouths of their metal cannons pointed outside of the city. The southern city wall was opposite the Great Star Doe Forest. Therefore, the best and strongest defenses were established on the southern city wall. The Zhuge divine crossbow cannons that the Tang sect had manufactured were all successfully loaded, and every cannon came with 4 sealed milk bottles. Only the Zhuge divine crossbow cannons on Shrek's city wall had such a configuration, and each cannon was almost twice as costly as the cannons that the Tang sect had sold to the Star Luo and Heavenly Soul empires. These defensive soul tools that the Tang sect had crafted for Shrek City were still sold at cost. There were 32 Zhuge divine crossbow cannons on the southern city wall. They were arranged in one row, and were very intimidating. These cannons were all Class 6 soul tools, and while they were very costly, they were also very powerful, and they could be used continuously in battle for a long time. The students from Shrek Academy's inner courtyard swiftly dispersed along the southern city wall under the command of the Sea God's Pavilion's various elders. None of these people had participated in the defense against the previous beast wave, but the Academy had gained much experience, and learned much about how to fight against beast waves after their previous battle. There was no question that Shrek City's combined strength was a far cry from that of the Great Star Doe Forest. They could only rely on their tough city wall, and Shrek Academy's accumulated wisdom and experience over the past 10,000 years. Therefore, the city wall could never be allowed to break in their defensive endeavors, because everything would be over if the city wall was broken through. The soul beasts' fighting style would always be different from that of humans. Normal soul beasts had subpar intelligence, and they only knew how to charge around violently, so there was no way they could follow complicated orders. For those savage beasts who were at a higher tier, they possessed intelligence comparable to humans, but they were proud and arrogant by nature, so they weren't willing to use any tricks or schemes. The Great Star Doe Forest's soul beasts thought they were invincible in their hearts. Because of this, their fighting style was very simple: attack the city head-on. This fact was one of the most important points that Shrek Academy had concluded for specifically fighting against soul beasts after the last beast wave. Shrek City's southern city wall didn't even have a gate, and that was so they could defend against soul beasts attacking them from this front. The city wall had been heightened and thickened continuously over many years, and the city wall's surface had been constructed with special materials and methods. Even soul beasts, who had more than 10,000 years of cultivation, would need a very long time to damage the city wall. Other than that, Shrek City had many unique advantages, and they wouldn't hold anything back against the beast wave. Zhuge divine crossbow cannons, first wave, fire! Shishing shouted at the top of his voice. The beast wave surged forward, charging within 3 kilometers of Shrek City in the blink of an eye. The closer they came, the clearer their frightening numbers became. Those beasts that were charging in front were either 10 or 100-year soul beasts. They weren't strong, and so were used as cannon fodder. Of course, this cannon fodder still possessed greater fighting strength than most ordinary people. If a peasant wasn't a soul master, they wouldn't be able to resist them one-on-one. 32 Zhuge divine crossbow cannons rapidly fired off, and balls of glaring light shone down from above the top of the city wall. The cannons were equipped with wheels and tracks, allowing them to move freely along the city wall. Once they were moved into position, they could be fixed in place mechanically. Class 6 Zhuge divine crossbow cannons were quite bulky. When Hui Yuhao, He Kai Tu, and the rest brought cannons to Sunrise City, they only brought those that were either Class 4 or Class 5. Their main reason for not bringing larger Juga divine crossbow cannons was because these cannons were simply too big. However, these Class 6 cannons were very useful for defending the city. All of them had 48 barrels each, their calibers much larger than Class 5 cannons. Furthermore, they cooled down more easily due to their size. 18 barrels from each of the 32 cannons were fired at the same time. The blaring cannons took everyone by storm. Countless streaks of red light formed a cascade of light in the air that shot towards the Soul Beast army. Every cannon covered one region, and there weren't any overlaps. Given the great number of Soul Beasts, there wasn't any need to aim, either. The internal formation arrays that these 32 cannons were equipped with were all explosive bombs. There weren't any exceptions. Only explosive bombs could unleash the greatest fighting strength on a battlefield. Boom. Countless compressed soul energy bombs were fired at an alarming speed towards the Soul Beasts, and a terrifying energy storm started to rage. This energy storm was a rain of death. In an instant, tremendous booms echoed from the front half of the battlefield. The tragic screams, furious roars, and groans of Soul Beasts could be heard, and the explosions that rang out caused countless Soul Beasts to be thrown into the air. Flesh and blood started to scatter and splatter on this battlefield. This was the first time Shrek City's defense army had witnessed the terrifying strength of all the Juga divine crossbow cannons being fired at once. If the beast wave was like a flood, this round of cannon blasts forcefully stopped that flood. The surging beast wave was stopped, and many of the Soul Beasts at the front of the wave were killed. Following this, something weird was revealed. Soul rings that were mainly white and yellow started to rise. From the dense concentration of soul rings, it was evident that many Soul Beasts had been killed in the attack earlier. Shushing rose up and drifted above the top of the city wall. He shouted furiously, "Did you see? This is Shrek's strength. Shrek City's defense army, let your passion burn for Shrek's glory. For Shrek, we have to fight until all of us are dead. We must use up every drop of blood in our bodies. Get ready to fire the second round of the Juga divine crossbow cannons." Some of those whose morale was low were inspired after the first round of the Juga divine crossbow cannons were fired. As they saw the huge number of soul rings rising, their confidence was boosted once again. Yes, Shrek couldn't be defeated so easily. Shrek Academy was the #1 academy in the world. The members of the first generation of Shrek's 7 monsters were also believed to have become gods. So what if they were facing a beast wave from the Great Star Doe Forest? Shrek wouldn't be defeated, and all of them were going to fight for Shrek's glory. Kill, kill, kill. Whoosh! The cannons fired a second round. Again, several hundred explosive bombs rained down on the Soul Beasts. Humans had been researching Soul Beasts ever since Soul Masters had existed. However, how much did Soul Beasts know about humans? Almost everyone who went into the Great Star Doe Forest to hunt and kill Soul Beasts was a highly skilled Soul Master. Soul Engineers' requirements for Soul Rings were lower. This was why Soul Beasts believed that Soul Masters were stronger. They were in the Great Star Doe Forest. Whether it was the Star Luo or Heavenly Soul Empire, they had never used extensive numbers of soul tools against Soul Beasts before. That was why the front half of the Soul Beasts were either greatly hurt or killed 3 kilometers away when the first round of cannons was fired off. Not only was the Soul Beast army stunned, but their commanders were also shocked. What soul skill is this? How is it so strong? How is it able to cover such a huge area and produce such terrifying strength? Even a titled Doluor can't do this. Only a transcendent Doluor might be able to. However, these Soul Beasts would have felt it if this were the work of a transcendent Doluor. There weren't any soul power undulations coming from a transcendent Doluor, apart from Elder Xian and Di Tian, who were fighting in the sky. Just as the Soul Beasts were still confused and astonished, the cannons were fired for the second time. Boom! Terrifying explosions rocked the earth again, and tremendous booms echoed across the entire battlefield. Those 10-year and 100-year Soul Beasts couldn't possibly survive against Class 6 explosive bombs. Even 1,000-year Soul Beasts couldn't escape, when they faced multiple bombs at the same time. Suddenly, the front of the Soul Beast army was cut down like wheat. Countless soul rings shone and rose up once again. On the top of the city wall, cheers began to erupt. The Soul Beast army could be defeated. The strength of a Juga divine crossbow cannon was that it took a very short time to fire, because of its mechanical parts. This was especially true when they were used to fire stationary soul cannon shells. There was only one problem with a Juga divine crossbow cannon: its vulnerability to high temperatures. A Juga divine crossbow cannon needed to cool down for 1 to 3 minutes before it could be used to fire again. If it was fired before it cooled down, its lifespan would fall. As a result, Shishing decided to slow the firing of these cannons after the first round. In the past 10 years, Shrek's development in soul tools had been quite significant. This was especially true after Xian Zui came to the Tang sect. The completion of the Juga divine crossbow cannons, as well as other soul tools that contributed to the defense of the city, made Shrek City seem even more impregnable. However, a jade-green figure from the Soul Beast army rose into the sky, just as everyone from Shrek Academy was burning with passion, and their fighting will was at its highest. As she rose into the sky, layers of jade-green ripples started to spread out and engulf the entire beast wave. Not only were there many dead soul beasts, but there were also countless injured soul beasts. Under the illumination of this jade-green light, the injuries of the hurt soul beasts started to heal at an amazing rate. More interestingly, the soul rings that had risen started to melt amidst this jade-green light, which made it even more glaring. Very soon, those injured soul beasts that were lying on the ground started to crawl up, and they roared out once again. "Humans, you have researched all types of destructive weapons such as this. One day, you are going to use them on soul beasts. Originally, I didn't support starting this beast wave. However, I have to agree that humans are threatening the survival of soul beasts. We'll do our best in this holy war." The flying jade-green figure was clearer to see. She was a human-form soul beast, and a ravishing beauty. Her jade-green hair flowed down behind her back, and her eyes were jade-green, too. Her figure was slender, and her light green dress outlined it perfectly. Her snow-white and slender arms were exposed. The strangest thing was that she had a pair of wings behind her, which seemed to be sculpted from gems. This pair of wings was jade-green, and every feather looked extremely dazzling. The bright green wings were filled with a captivating aura of life, and made her look like a natural goddess. The look in Elder Song's eyes turned sharp, and she pointed her toes to the ground, her figure rising to the top of the city wall. She drifted there in mid-air, and an intense layer of green light shone from her. Behind her, a projection flashed into existence, revealing a pale eagle entirely engulfed in green light. It was Elder Song's martial soul, a green shadow godly eagle. It was a top-ranked beast soul of the wind element, and a top-ranked agility-type martial soul. Elder Song rose into the sky and faced the ravishing lady directly. She asked, "Are you Bai Ji, the Emerald Swan?" This lady didn't look at Elder Song, but at all the casualties from the Soul Beast army. Her eyes were filled with compassion. "That's right. I'm Bai Ji." Elder Song said, "Bai Ji, if I'm not wrong, you are known as the kindest soul beast. You are also one of the 10 great savage beasts, and the only one that isn't adept at fighting. However, it's recognized that your status among the savage beasts is comparable to even Di Qian's, because you have treated countless soul beasts and saved their lives. However, I need to ask you this: if soul beasts' lives are considered precious, are humans' lives considered precious, too? If we didn't attack, just now, and let all of you charge up the city wall, wouldn't we all have been killed? You've also heard Di Qian's orders. He wants to obliterate Shrek City. Your Emperor Beast has died, and we regret that, too. Perhaps it might be the work of a human, but you have implicated the entire human race out of rage. Isn't this too much? You are a compassionate creature, but why have you become so muddle-headed?" Part 2 end here.